Hello, darling fifth graders. Mrs. Phelps here. I wanted to come on today and show you how you are going to take the information that you have researched and put it together into a paragraph. So I am going to walk you through this. I went ahead and pulled all of the information that we are writing about and talking about in these paragraphs from our sample, like the paper that we wrote. That was an example, like the exemplar. It's on page 5 and 6 of your packet. So that's where all this information comes from. All of this is about the emperor penguin. We specifically chose that so that nobody else could pick the emperor penguin, so that it was very unique and that kind of thing. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so as I said, I researched the emperor penguin. This is your packet, page 8. Yours should look very similar to mine. This is all information that we suggested that you find. Remember, we said, hey, if you're missing 1 or 2 facts, no big deal. There wasn't a specific number of like additional facts we wanted, but that would really help you in your paper as you're writing it. So we found the scientific name. We found all of the ways that they are classified. And then as I was doing some research, going through some of these websites and whatnot, I did go ahead and write down, why this was important and the really cool things that I found out about them, which was really great. So what I want you to do is you're going to look at your page 8 in a minute. But you are going to go through and you are going to look at these things, and our goal is to write a paper that is all about classification, okay? Now, there are lots of things that you have found and researched that are really great. They build your knowledge about emperor penguins, but we're really looking to narrow it down to the information that's really important to be added into our paper. Okay, so as I'm looking through this, I have all of the classification, which is great. I look down here, they have a backbone, which is true. That's why they're in this phylum, which is good. They're in the class Aves, which means that they are a bird. I will say I do think it's very interesting that they are classified as a bird, even though they can't fly, because they have so many of these other characteristics of birds. So to me, that's a very interesting thing. They can't fly. Okay, now here I notice that they have 19 species of penguins. Now, remember, I'm writing my whole paper about the classification of the emperor penguin. So the fact that there are 19 species of penguins actually has nothing to do with emperor penguins. So as I'm going through these facts, I just want to make sure that all of them are related specifically to the emperor penguin. Okay, so here is my very crudely drawn drawing. I know, guys, I mean, the art is just so wonderful. You're just going to have to try and resist asking for my autograph next time you see me. I know, it's just really great. But I wanted to give you this visual. Pretend that as you're writing this topic about the classification, think of it like a table, okay? And the table, the top that's going to hold the table up is all the things about classification. That's what it is. The 4 legs that are holding up the classification of the emperor penguin are facts about the emperor penguin that relates to classification. So when I look at this fact that there's 19 species of penguins, it doesn't relate specifically to how an emperor penguin is classified. So that would cause my table to be a little wonky table, right? And we don't want that. So take a minute as you're going through this and double check that your facts all relate, all create that table about the emperor penguin. And then I also just want to make sure that you have listed the websites down here that you have used to figure out this information. This is important because at the very end, you are going to create a works cited page, and I want you to feel as confident and all the things as you can for that. Okay? All right, so once you have page 8, you're going to kind of hang on to it, and we're going to use that to help us write our actual paragraph. But first, as we're writing a paragraph, I want to talk to you a little bit about the order of the parts of the paragraph. So again, visual, like my table. When we think about a paragraph or a paper, we have the introductory sentence or the introductory conclusion. Now, in our case for this paper, we have an introductory paragraph and a concluding paragraph. That's important. If you think about eating a hamburger bun or a hamburger, if you don't have a bun, it's really messy, right? things fall out, it falls apart. It just doesn't, you aren't able to grasp it as easily to eat all of the like fun, enjoyable condiments that you put on there. So just like in a paper, we have the bun, we want to, in each individual paragraph, also have a bun with an introductory sentence and a concluding sentence. And then in between, our sentences about facts are where they go, which is a great thing, okay? So this is why it's really important to make sure that we have that. Now, what's important to note is that here you're not including actually any facts in the introductory or the concluding sentence. This is just introducing the topic, telling us what it's going to be about. It's very broad. It doesn't introduce any new information, okay? It just kind of goes into it. Here I have some examples of introductory sentences that are just very broad and specific. Again, you want to think of it like our table, right? The table is the broad thing and the details go underneath it. We don't want to add any details to the top of the table, okay? So we have the classification, we have characteristics, and we have habitat. So if you look at this first one, classification, these waddling beasts, I like that little noun referent, right, in terms of the emperor penguin, are sometimes confused as mammals, but are in fact birds. Now, it's important to note this, you might go, well, Mrs. Phelps, that looks like you've introduced a fact there. Well, I have introduced this already in the introduction. So this is not something that I'm newly adding. This is just something that is there. Okay, so these are very broad and specific, and so I know that everything that's within my paragraph is going to relate back to how they are classified. Same thing with characteristics. The emperor penguin have many distinctive characteristics that make them different from other animals. So all of my facts, all of these parts of the hamburger are going to relate and stay within this bun. Okay, same thing when we talk about the concluding sentence. Okay, so this is like a wrap up. I like things in a nice little neat bow. In fact, I like mine double knotted. So this is just knotting everything up, saying, hey, here is what, remember, this is what you just read about in the paragraph. I'm just tying it up in a neat little bow before we introduce the next topic. So there's so much more to explore with these amazing creatures. These creatures and more make these characteristics and more make the emperor penguin very special. And truly, God's creativity is on display with these flightless birds. Okay, so they just wrap up. They're not introducing any new material. So far, so good? Okay, let's get into the actual writing of our paper then. Okay, so I told you that we were writing the introductory sentence, okay? So in this case, my introductory sentence, again, I use this noun referent right here, this waddling beasts are sometimes confused as mammals, but are birds, okay? So that's the introductory sentence I want to talk about, because everything that I'm talking about within my classification paragraph is going to be about how they're birds and how they're very uniquely classified as an emperor penguin. Okay, so that's how I chose to start mine out. Okay, then I'm going to come back here to this research. And I want to pick 3 things that are really important fact-wise to make sure that I want to include in my paper, okay? So I might include, like, for example, the order and the species. That might be fact number 1. I might include their scientific name as fact number 2. And I might include that they are in the class Aves as my fact number 3, along with that they're birds, but they, don't have these specific things, okay? So you can kind of go through your page 8 and decide which are the facts, like if you had to pick just 3 facts, maybe 4, but just 3 facts that are super important. These are the things that you want your researcher to know, like the reader is going to read this paper. This is the thing that is super important for them to know. This is what you want them. Okay, so then you're going to take that and you're going to turn those into, you're just going to kind of write your facts right up here, okay? So all I did was I took my facts from here, and I'm just rewriting them right here, okay? All right, then I'm going to write my concluding sentence, okay? So again, this is my wrap-up. There's so much more to explore about these amazing creatures. Okay, so as I'm writing this, I want to keep up and pay attention to the success criteria. So success criteria, I have literally just copied this directly from your rubric about how I'm going to grade this specific paragraph. So you must have an introductory sentence. You need to have at least 3 separate facts, and you need to have a concluding sentence, okay? Then again, transition sentence variety. You don't want to start every sentence with emperor penguins, emperor penguins, emperor penguins, emperor penguins, because it gets very boring and nobody enjoys reading that. And then same thing, you guys are going to type it, so spelling and grammar mistakes. I'm not as worried about it in the draft. This is more for the final copy, okay? So as I'm taking this, I'm going to put these into full sentences, keeping these things in mind. Okay, so here we go. Now, I went ahead and just numbered mine because just for ease, so you could see it on your draft. And then when you're actually writing it, please don't number it, because then that would be really silly. It would be just a list, not a paper. So I took my introductory sentence. That's my first one. These waddling geese are sometimes confused as a mammal, but they're actually birds. My first fact, I'm going to turn into a sentence. Therefore, the emperor penguin is in the class Aves that includes all birds. However, it's distinctive within this class because it cannot fly. So I've taken the fact and I've turned it into a full sentence, okay? My third sentence is about my second fact. The emperor penguin is part of the order and the family. Here's my order and family, written it right there. Okay, its scientific name, right there. I decided to add one more sentence because I thought this was so important, that they have so many of the same characteristics as birds, but they have this, they're missing this major one about how they can fly. To me, that was a really important fact, and I was okay writing extra sentence about it. So I just added this part that I'd written up here down here. And then my last sentence was my concluding. That is a completed paragraph. If I go back up here and I check my success criteria, I do have an introductory sentence. I do have 3 separate sentences indicating facts about the classification. I do have a concluding sentence. I have used some sentence variety. They don't all sound the same. So that is how you're going to write your paragraph. So this is the one, you're writing one about classification. You're going to write another about characteristics. And you're going to write another about habitat, but it's the same thing that you're doing every time in order to do this. Questions? Reach out to your teacher. Have a great day.